Hello, everyone. Welcome to School After Hours podcast, where we talk about all things related to after-school time programming. I am your host, Jay Lee, and on today's show, we have the other half of the Academy of Goal Achievers here today, Mr. Tony Stanford and Mr. Keyshawn Phelps. So, if you've been following the show for a while, you might remember me doing an interview with Courtnie McIntosh, the founder of the Academy of Goal Achievers. We had a great conversation about the Academy of Goal Achievers. We also talked about workshops and how it's important to incorporate other things for parents to be involved in creating support groups for parents as well for when their children transition from that high school to college phase. But also we talked about expansion a little bit in that episode as well, because Courtnie was in the process of expanding her program. So I thought it would be good to invite the gentleman that's kind of part of that expansion and partnership into the conversation. So, with that being said, we're going to talk about the benefits of partnership today. But before we get into that conversation, let's jump into our Community Corner. Community Corner is a segment of the show that allows myself or guests to share tips, advice, or information on a specific topic with youth, families, and community members. Without further ado, let's go ahead and play that Community Corner conversation. So, Tony and Keyshawn, my question for you both is, think of one or two things an organization needs to know or ask before partnering with another organization.
Oh, yes. For me, I think one of the major things with partnering is making sure that the mission and your goals align, just making sure that you guys are both transparent on both ends to know what is expected and what is needed to get done to complete the overall mission. So I think that's one thing an organization needs on both ends to partner.
And I would also say having just good foundational documents. So Courtnie was really strategic in making sure that we had a format for every meeting. You start the meeting this way, you end the meeting this way. Obviously, the middle kind of changes based on what the topics are, but having that structure where you can easily pass it on to somebody and then they can ask questions as well. Yeah. So definitely something that's plug and play, for lack of a better word, once you have the right students for the program.
Thank you, Keyshawn and Tony, for that information. Let's go ahead and jump into our interview. Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and jump into this conversation. My first question for you all is, and it could start with either one, what was your introduction to youth development? Because I know we all come from different places and have different experiences from it. And I've shared previously in my recordings how I got started. I was an after-school teacher for a program during my senior year in high school. And then from there, I just kind of found my niche and my love for after-school programming and just booked it after I realized I couldn't make it in teaching because I couldn't pass my licensing test. So, that's neither here nor there. You know what I mean? I found my place. But, what was your introduction to youth development?
Oh, well, for me, it was pretty much a family member that I knew always did like community events. She always did, block parties, enrichment programs for youth at the Boys and Girls Club and local recreation centers. And I was always involved, always helping out. And at the time, I didn't realize how much it'd be impactful. But on Saturday mornings or Sundays, I'm helping set up or helping pass out things and things like that. And as at a young age, you don't want to do that on a Saturday morning. You rather be watching TV or playing a video game or something. So, but seeing how much impact it had on the youth and how much people looked up to her and on the organization. So that was pretty much how I got introduced to outreach and enrichment programs, and also through journey and my own self of trying to participate in programs that the city offered.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Keyshawn. How about you, Tony? How'd you get involved?
I honestly can't remember a time I wasn't in enrichment activities. So I'm an only child, I should say that.
Okay.
And part of that is, I guess, my parents use enrichment programs for me to gain friends and learn how to work with others.
Right.
So from sports to the Boys and Girls Club to just different programs they had at the university near us, I was always in a enrichment program. Mm-hmm. I can't really remember a time like specifically when this happened, but I will say as the more I older, I searched out specific enrichment programs because they were aligned with what I thought my goals were at the time, whether that's to be an engineer or that's to do community service on an active basis. I mean, I even remember doing like Habitat for Humanity. Like I've always just kind of done things on a community basis. And again, it's more so, I guess, to make me more well-rounded. Again, it's as the more you do in a community, the more you meet different people and you see different things that you make exposure, right? That's really what programs are about. So again, I really can't remember a time that I wasn't involved. And again, as I was in high school, I was in the Omega Mentoring Program, which is similar to the program I started here in Charlotte, which ultimately kind of merged with Courtney's program. And so that happened, of course, as a high schooler. But again, I can't remember a time that I really wasn't involved in enrichment programs.
Okay. So we make this leap from being in programs and then starting your own program, right? So Tony, go ahead and walk us through that process of how you got your program started and what was the idea behind it.
So I literally took the blueprint that we had in Buffalo. We had, after the Buffalo program, we had started a sister chapter in Atlanta, Georgia, or Metro Atlanta, like Stock.
So walk us through that. Like, what was the name of your program? All that. Give us all that information.
So yes, Omega Mentoring Program, it has both young men and young women that they take basically and help them kind of expose them to life skills as well as college enrichment. For us, it really was pushing people to graduate high school. Buffalo has a very low high school graduation rate. When I was in high school, it was like 49%. So our goal while we were in the program, of course, was to increase graduation and enrollment. And I would say for the Buffalo chapter, at the time I was in the program, we had like 100% graduation rate compared to, again, the city, which was only 49%.
Nice.
All my friends now, again, look back at it, we're either people really went heavy in the military or into school. I know a couple of guys have PhDs, all that. So definitely the program worked. So transition to that. When around the time I was graduating from college, we started working in Atlanta to get some roots there. We actually partnered with another mentor. He had the similar idea as our elite mentor. When we launched there, he actually was a teacher. So he started with 7th grade students. And that kind of grew in. We have several, of course, graduates from that program as well. So he actually, that guy from Atlanta, was moving to Charlotte. So when I was in Charlotte, we got together to try to see if we could do the same thing in Charlotte. All the time, of course, Atlanta was still working, Buffalo was still working. So Charlotte was the next, obviously, city that kind of was working. And from there, essentially used my resources because I was already in Charlotte when he got here to kind of help make the program what it became. So that was, again, having monthly speakers, networking with the community, having different sports athletes come talk to the students, all those things that we were able to do as a result of kind of using that same template. We did joint college tours. So we have a college tour with students from Buffalo, students from Atlanta, and students from Charlotte. So that was actually pretty impactful for just the students to network with each other. But the key concept in the program was really peer mentoring, right? So once you get the first group of students in, our goal is to allow them to now use what they learned to teach the next people behind them. And as that continues to go on, again, you naturally become a mentor yourself, but it also allows the program to grow because typically you're bringing in students that are friends of friends or maybe relatives. And again, we are now at the point where we have several college graduates. My program that was in Charlotte, I had my first college graduate last spring, which is crazy to think about it. So we started a program. I had 7th and 8th graders, and I have a college graduate. It's like, man, am I getting old?
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely, like I said, it comes full circle kind of as far as development, but definitely it was really just to give the students here the same opportunities I feel like that I had when I was younger.
Right. Well, congratulations on your first graduating group. I know that's a big thing of being someone that's done it for a while. You like, the heck, like this and that. Oh, wait till they start moving on to where they're like in professionals and they having children and they in their life. Like, you get married? You get married for real? Shut up. No.
Yeah, I'm not ready. I am not.
Can't do it. No.
You'll see them as a 7th and 8th grader. So it's hard for me to, like, even being at the graduation, right? It's kind of like, dang, I can't, like, it comes so fast. So I'm ready, but I'm nervous.
Right. But that's how you know you're making an impact. Like you said, when you could always come back and you can get invited to like birthday parties, baby showers, all these things. Like, that's how you know it really, really stuck.
Absolutely.
So Keyshawn, how about you? How did you begin? Because I know that at a point you were doing like your own thing before you partnered with the Academy of Goal Achievers. So what was that process like? So what were you doing and what was that process like?
Yeah, so for me, my organization, which is called I Just Want to Inspire, it started off as just a brand at first, or just something that I wanted to inspire other people, especially inner city youth, just to show them that, you know, if I can make it out or if I can do something that you can too. So it just started off like that until I started using my brand to try to really make an impact. And I started in college, my senior year, I started doing scholarships. So my program gradually got to where it's at now, but it started with scholarships and just motivational advice and uplifting people. So I started giving out scholarships to the youth in my city of Newark, New Jersey. Started off with $500 scholarships to help alleviate some of the burden of just the start of the first semester of the college. Then it gradually went to 1,000. So now I'm just hopefully just continue to, keep upping that scholarship to one day can cover probably a full semester or college a year. So that pretty much how it went. Once I was doing that, I met Courtney, and that's how I got connected with her, because all the things that I was doing as far as mentoring and giving back and doing like community initiatives from canned good drives and things like that. So, and being that she's from Virginia State University as well. So, so I thought it was a great idea to just, two Trojans to come together and just make a bigger impact together. And that's how we got to this collaboration.
Awesome. So in both of you, in starting your own thing and then going into partnership, what are some of those things that's important to look at when you're going into collaboration or into partnership? Tony, let's start with you.
Just in generally, what are you strong at? What are you weak at? What is that other person, the other program good at as well? And kind of see where you can start dividing tasks. Obviously, the goal in this case was to, improve children and their lives as they get ready to kind of go into adulthood. Since we're aligned with that mission, made it pretty easy from that perspective. Also, happened to have some kids that were in both programs. So a lot of I had two students who would come to my program in the morning and go to Miss Courtney's program in the afternoon. Gotcha. So we knew each other even though we never met. So by the time we met, we was like, okay, we got to figure out how to work together. So the first idea, of course, was just do a community service together. And then when that went well, we just said, okay, well, what can we do like even further? Like, how can we take this partnership more? So I think it was a natural fit for us, just again, because we already had students that were in both programs. And again, they were always telling her about Mr. Tony and they were all telling me about Miss Courtney. Right. So it kind of just was perfect. But I think really just, again, if you have to find somebody who has really similar goals, or if something that maybe you lack that they do, I'm not the greatest grant writer, but Miss Courtney is really good at that, right? So that, again, for us, obviously, we work in youth development. Grants are really important, right, to allow us to achieve our goals. So that was like, again, a no-brainer from that perspective. So again, identify your strengths and weaknesses and figure out how you can collab together and make a bigger impact. And I think that's kind of the easiest path.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. Keyshawn, so in the process of being part of this expansion, like what drew you to Goal Achievers and making this collaboration? And then in finding your school, because you're school-based, why did you choose the school that you did?
Yeah, so to answer the first question, a little bit of like what Tony was speaking on. When I met Courtney, she had the blueprint. She had everything established and the resources that I was looking to try and grow and to become as well. So as being collaborating with her, she showed me some of like the ropes and things like that, showed me how does she go about doing things. So it was a partnership, also learning as well from her on how to do things. So when I partnered with her, it was like, say, to one, collaborate, to learn, but also I think the biggest thing when collaborating is make sure that the mission's aligned. And I think that's something that the Goal Achievers and my organization had both aligned to like help the youth and to help the whole household as well. The school, far as partnering with the school, it was a little bit far as growing up, I went to that school. I graduated high school from there in Newark, New Jersey, which is University High School. So when I went there, it was pretty much giving back in a sense, because that's a school that taught me. That's a school that I met my friends, had great memories playing sports and things like that. So I felt it was only right to give back to the school that helped mold me into the man I am today.
Awesome. So in choosing the school to give back to the school, did you already have relationships with anybody in the building to have that conversation? And then what does that conversation look like? Because you can't just walk in and be like, hey, so how about putting this program in your school? And
yes.
Because once upon a time I was an alum.
Yes. Yeah. So for me, I was always really close with the guidance counselors. I was always success driven. So I was staying close to the guidance counselors because I always wanted to see, things about college and the next steps in life. So I really built a bond with some of the guidance counselors, some of the teachers there, but as well as the principal. When you have a principal there that is really looking to expand and looking to educate the students in any way, it was easy a thing, but just making sure that I had everything aligned, making sure that I presented everything professionally and that it made sense. And I think it was just pretty much of just introducing what the Goal Achievers had to offer. And it was something that the principal at university felt that was needed, that could be used. And it was pretty much just setting it up that way. It wasn't really a hard task because, like I say, it was the impact was just to help students. So I think it was an easier transition.
Right. So in all three organizations, how do you begin to continuously shape culture? Because everybody's demographics is different. right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you begin to align your programs with that standard of what Goal Achievers is trying to do, knowing that you do have commonalities in your programs? So how do you begin to move forward with your kids to let them know, this is the culture, these are the expectations, and so on and so forth. And also, Tony, bringing in your resources, because in our other conversation that we had, like you had kids doing stocks, like someone came in and, you brought financial literacy into the program. So using those resources that you had, how did you begin to incorporate, those resources that you have, but also be consistent and have a cohesive culture?
Yeah, again, I think the main thing is to have a plan. Each year you have kind of a roadmap, like same thing you do roadmap or you do succession planning, however you want to call it, to kind of make sure that the kids this year have experience. You also go back and say, what did we not do well in last year, right? So you use that to kind of identify what you should be doing for next year. And we actually do a planning session. So the program usually starts in August. By the end of June, we know what we're going to do for the full next year of calendar timeframe. So I think it's really just planning. And then again, identifying the needs, right? We ask questions. We ask the students, hey, what are you interested in? Hey, these are the cohorts we're thinking about presenting to you guys. Stocks, reality check, this, that. And they say, yeah, okay, yeah, I want to be a better communicator. Yeah, I want to get a job. So based on those skill sets that they want, as well as what we already have kind of network for, we actually open that up to them.
Mm-hmm.
I think the main thing is, again, feedback from everybody, even the previous students, right? You want to say, hey, what did you enjoy about the program?
Mm-hmm.
What would you have done differently? Again, we have, at this point, my program and Courtney's program both started in 2015. So again, we have obviously years under our belt at this point, to the point where we can ask those questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other thing is identifying like each individual student needs. Every student is different, right? So you do have to have that one-to-one relationship with the students. So I think that helps as well, because you can't reach every student the same. So you're having those individual discussions, identify their wants versus needs, and know that, of course, I may not have all the answers. So I have a friend who is good at stocks. So, hey, let me come on, bring you in. Let me have you talk to my kids about stocks. And I can just make sure that they receive the information correctly, right?
Right.
Because you can't teach them everything. But again, also what I learned, like even being a programmer myself, is a lot of times if I tell you something and then somebody else reiterates that, now you actually learn it, right? I always give the example of when I was in the program, I learned how to tie a tie in the program. But my dad had probably tried to teach me that a couple months before, and I couldn't figure it out.
Right.
By the time I learned, I was, oh yeah, I learned how to tie a tie. He was, oh, you must have learned that in the program. I was like, yeah, I did, of course. And he was kind of mad, but at the same time, well, for me, I understand that you got to have the repetition too, right? So it was maybe a better learning environment. I mean, they was even better teachers on how to tie a tie. I don't know, but it worked because again, I was around people, my peers, and they were learning, so I felt like it was a good thing to do.
Right.
So I think in general, you have to have that reinforcement, whether it's the program or different parts of the program, versus, hey, I just don't want Mr. Tony to feel bad. Right now, it's another person who they don't know. So now it drives that point home that I was trying to make for them times.
Right. And I think that's very important, what we forget to do as programs, especially combining resources, especially human capital as well, from one staff to another, is getting student feedback. I feel like we operate sometimes in a sense of, this is what I want, or this is what I think you want, what I think is good for you, and not getting the full feedback of the students who are actually going to have to participate in the classes that you're trying to put in front of them and the things that you're trying to do. You in your mind, you think it's great, but within the actual action of the class, you're like, maybe this didn't work.
I would say that feedback is very pivotal in kind of making sure that you're on track. And I'll also say, for me, I didn't grow up in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
She did grow up in North Carolina, so she has a different perspective than I do. So I have an outside perspective, which is good. She has hey, this is what actually happens in our curriculum, right? So we can bounce those two things off each other and to say, okay, this is perfect based on that. And then you get the student feedback, oh yeah, we really cooking with grease now, right?
Right. Good stuff. Keyshawn, how about you?
Yes, I feel like Tony touched on everything. So like I said, but just to piggyback, like he was saying, the feedback is a big thing. Understanding the students or the people that you are mentoring and just trying to hear back from them to see, where can we all improve on. I know like how, we do evaluations and things like that, not only for ourselves, but also for the organization, just to see how can we get better? And I think another thing is too, like I said, Tony hit on all the points, but me being that I'm from Newark, New Jersey, I know some of the similar struggles or similar things that some of the students are facing because I once, been in their shoes. So giving them light or giving them perspective from someone that been in their shoes, I think that helps a lot. But also learning from like Tony and learning from Courtney about the things of how they structure their things, or like say if I have a weakness of, maybe I need to do, learn better about doing stocks and things like that. And like say reaching out to Tony that take it off my hands because I know, this is something that I need to help, help the students, but I don't know it as much, but I know Tony does. So just leveraging the resources and things like that to help expand and build this program.
Right. And knowing that you don't have to do it by yourself. I think that's the key.
Yeah.
That's the key thing, like knowing each person, like you said, Tony, and like you're emphasizing, Keyshawn, knowing the strength of each individual that's on your team and then leaning on them.
Right.
If you feel like that's not your strongest area, like you said, like grant writing is not my thing.
Yeah.
Pass that to the left. I'm not doing that.
Right.
I'm not doing that because I have a problem with that term. But depending on how it's used, like that's not my strongest area. Mm-hmm. So if I know that this individual has the skills and then do it well, then let me have a conversation with them to see if they can go ahead and take care of this specific task or this specific thing.
Right.
And knowing that there's no shame in it. Like I feel like sometimes we get caught up in ego and not being at a place to admit like, I have to do all things and be all things, which is not true. That's how you're going to weigh yourself out. Be okay. Be very much okay. But go ahead and passing this over to somebody else that has the skill set or has like the different desire or the stronger desire to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how you stay stronger to me as a unit. So being that you all are in different states, right? How do you keep that bond between students? I know that's a big thing with cohorts, especially when they start to branch out and do like different states and different areas. How do you continuously, keep your students linked together so it feels like they're part of family? Their network is wider than just, their block or, the school that they're in.
Yeah, so I can speak on that. So Courtney and Tony do a great job at providing all of the resources that they have for the North Carolina-based students. So they make them feel at home. That is, they are offering, if they can put it virtually, or if the people are interested, they will actually, it's been times where they will try to, let's say, how can I say this? Try to set up a meeting or set up something specifically for the New Jersey cohort to make them feel, as special as well, but also give them the dedicated time to learn the things or the topic that is being at hand. So I think, Go Chief does a great job of doing that.
Tony, anything to add?
I mean, Keyshawn pretty much said it, but I would say it's similar like you go to Walmart in any place, right? They almost look the same. So we have a blueprint. This is our Saturday programming. This is our whatever day of the week programming. So hey, can you guys meet that schedule? This is our, our dedicated Saturday for community service. There's a community service opportunity for you guys. So kind of communicating up front, again, road mapping it for the year. This is what we want to do. Okay, how could we incorporate you guys? We have a fun activity with the students. Can they also join virtually? Can we have a get to know you game? Things like that. So just again, reaching across the aisle, just saying, again, this is our format. How can we get the students best interact? They're all the same ages, right? They may even be roommates at some time when they go to college together, right? So all that's possible if we introduce them to each other and allow those opportunities to continue to grow.
Got you. And also keeping the families involved. So how do you begin to broaden your network? Because, program is expanding. So then how do you begin to tie the New Jersey families with the North Carolina families just to broaden that network and have that cohesion together?
So our parenting sessions are, I guess, half virtual, half in person. So again, the virtual ones, we're able to share both families and all families involved. And again, and a lot of times you get better participation too when you have, again, it's virtual, you just got to log in, right? But it also allows them to, again, know, hey, it's just not my kid. My kid's doing the same. Oh, your kid's doing the same thing. And then the parents join their own relationship outside of us, right?
Right.
So you get those things going on because, again, we're all living, all the kids are around the same age. They're all experiencing the same things. And you feel like, hey, I told my kid this and they're not listening, right? But again, the program is kind of reinforcing those things and it all works together. And hopefully, again, all the parents, will continue to grow. A lot of them come back to volunteer with us as well. But yeah, I think it's just really giving that platform for that community to happen. So I think after the first meeting, the parents are, again, they locked in.
Right.
Like, oh, I got a whole connection in another state. Yes. I know that's right. So what does it look like for goal achievers moving forward? So what are some of the things that you all have on your radar for this year as far as, keeping culture and everything for your programs going and just keeping your expansion strong?
We're actually still growing, trying to grow. We have some other like smaller versions of goal achievers popping up around the city of Charlotte. Using our format, using our resources, we're able to have those students kind of work independently. But again, as we have college tours, hey, this is where we're going. Come on and join us. So the program is actually growing larger than what we can fit in our quote unquote building. But we have, again, those satellites, and they have, again, the blueprint, right? This is the way you run a program. These are the things you want to touch the students with. And again, everything comes back to the home base. So, hey, you want to learn about stocks? This is how you do it. Hey, you want to learn about emotional intelligence? This is how you do it. So again, having the main, I guess, building and then branching off. But again, making sure the communication works. And again, that is definitely going to continue to grow because I think what we have is a great recipe, right? Obviously, everybody can't make a peach cobbler, but the people who can make it, they can make it. Right? We're trying to have that format where, hey, I can share you my recipe. It might be the same, but if you come work with me, it actually probably tastes better. So that's the goal.
Got you. Keyshawn, anything you wanted to add? What about New Jersey?
Yeah, so for being that the collaboration is still new, we want to, expand on the numbers, get more kids, expand into more opportunities to maybe other schools as well. Also is just making sure that we are keeping up the blueprint of the goal achievers and making sure that we are providing opportunities and holding the standard as well. So on our end, we're just going to keep trying to expand, keep trying to grow, and just get better each and every year.
Awesome. Cool beans. All right, so we're going to jump into our Professionals Lounge.
Professionals Lounge is a segment of the show that allows guests to share advice and tips with other practitioners in the OST and youth development field about how they can begin growing their gifts and talents, but also developing themselves as professionals in the field. Now, let's go ahead and play our Professionals Lounge.
So my Professionals Lounge question is, and either of you can take it, how can you leverage your connections to meet the needs of your organization?
I know Tony can speak a lot about this with his cohorts, but I give a little 2 cents into it as for me, it's like knowing your connections, strong suits, knowing what they're actually good at. Like if I have a partner who's really well at speaking about, motivational speaking, try to use him or use his skill sets and to allow to do a motivational speaking segment or things like that. So it's just basically putting your connections in places that will impact those that need it. So I think that's pretty much for me how I try to leverage my connections to help out our organizational needs.
Yeah. And I would say the majority of people who work with young people, they're great people, right? So people enjoy them as a person. So it's easy to say, hey, friend, I know you do this. Can you help us out? And 9 times out of 10, they're going to do it. And they're like, yeah, probably even better than we thought when we asked the question, right? Generally good people. And then a lot of times they say, oh, yeah, if you want to do this, I know this person. So it's literally again, leaning on your network because you told them what you do. So a lot of times we do work and we don't want to necessarily celebrate ourselves, but post it on Facebook, post it on LinkedIn, post it everywhere, right? Because you never know who's going to see that and share it and say, oh, I got students or have some funding or whatever was going on. So I think that's the key as well is celebrate your wins, right? And it could be just, hey, we just had 50 students today, right? Whatever that is, you want to continue to push that information out because you don't know who's going to touch or who they're going to send it to and how that can benefit your students or your program later on.
Right, which is a good point. I was talking to someone, I can't remember who it was, someone I was going to do a future interview with, and we were talking about this idea of we're so busy doing the work, we don't take time to take stock in what we've accomplished, but also share what we've done to bring attention to not intentionally ourselves, but our skill set and what we're able to do and what we bring to it. So it's good to hear that as far as, what you can do professionally, make sure that you're sharing your stuff. And as we tell children or as we tell the kids that we serve, make sure that you're doing your profiles and that it shows your work, it shows your volunteerism, taking a page from our own advice and make sure that we're modeling the same things to make sure that there's something that they could see that's being done to provide an example, as well as telling them this is how it can be done.
Absolutely.
So that brings us to the end of our show, gentlemen. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. As always, go ahead and follow us on Instagram at School After Hours and also on Facebook at School After Hours. And I do have a little surprise that I'll be releasing to y'all in a few weeks. So keep your ears and eyes open for that. Gentlemen, go ahead and if you want to, go ahead and drop your information so they know where to get in touch with you and how to follow you on social
So
media.
you want to start off with that, Tony?
Before I give that, I want to give a shout out to my school, Alabama A&M, since he was talking about Virginia State earlier.
Oh, man.
Shout out to Alabama A&M University. But seriously, you can follow me on LinkedIn, Tony Stanford Jr. It's the easiest way to connect with me. Slide in my DMs or contact me there. Of course, we're Goal Achievers on Instagram, and just find out what the program is doing. Always sharing and reposting things that are happening. So appreciate the opportunity to speak with you guys. And again, hopefully we can continue this conversation and the betterment to the students.
Awesome.
Yeah, so for me, my LinkedIn is Keyshawn Phelps as well. On Instagram, the Goal Achievers as well. Also, for my organization is Want2 and Inspire, and that is Instagram for my organization as well.
Cool beans.
Well, everyone, that brings us to the end of our show. I'd like to thank Keyshawn and Tony for being our guests today. Hopefully, you all can come back and we can continue having our conversation and, just check in with y'all to see what you're doing next. If you enjoyed this episode and feel you received some good information, give us a review on Apple Podcasts or visit the Podchasers website and leave us a comment. This will help us get some feedback on the show and collect testimonials for our personal website. Share us with your friends, share us with your family, share us with your network. Help us spread the word about how out-of-school time programming is impacting our youth as well as our communities. We can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Podcast Addict. Well, that's all I have for today. In the words of Mr. Arthur Ashe, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. Until next time, bye-bye.